whatever activity it is that you do that causes swelling, whether it be from standing too long, sitting in an airplane, hiking. Legs up the wall is a wonderful restorative practice. I've got blocks, a blanket, and a bolster here that you could use, or you could just simply lie on your back with your legs up the wall. Have your mat right at the wall. Probably the most complicated part of this practice is actually getting your legs up the wall. I like to start at the very edge of the mat to give myself plenty of runway space. I draw my legs in and come to fetal position before lifting my feet up the wall. Once your feet are at the wall, just pause here. We won't use props now since this will be available to everybody. But just have the experience of taking your legs up the wall and finding out for yourself what feels like a good distance. By using your elbows, you can draw yourself closer to the wall or just push into the wall to scoot yourself further away from it. Bend your knees slightly so that it's not too much of a stretch as you start. Begin to relax by reaching your arms out to the side. You can take the arms in a cactus pose to open the chest even more fully. Draw your awareness to your breath. Have a nice in-breath through the nose and exhale long. Just enjoy the sensation. For some of us, lying flat without any support under the pelvis might be challenging. And if that's the case for you, you can come out of the pose and look at the alternatives. Otherwise, just stay right where you are. To come out of the pose, you can bend your knees and roll to the side. Use your top arm to help lift yourself up. I've got a bolster that I can use. Many of us don't have bolsters, but I put that right against the baseboard in this case, or blocks, and in the same way, we can use them. They might be slightly more challenging to get on. Or you can use a blanket, and this blanket has an accordion fold in it. So I'll choose to use the blanket, or you could use a beach towel or something. And in the same way, just come to the edge. Some like to move their blankets away from the wall to support the lumbar spine, but I actually feel like it gives me much more support by taking the blanket right to the wall. So as you come to the same pose, those of you that were in the pose, stay in the pose with the legs up the wall. It's called Viparita Karani. And this is such a wonderful restorative pose. As you draw your attention to your breath, you begin to feel like the fluid is starting to drain down from the toes to the ankles to your knees. You can slightly bend your knees for a little bit more comfort. Close your eyes. Take your attention to your breath. In this pose, as you take your arms to either cactus pose or you're spreading your wings, See as you breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, if you can elongate the breath. And through that, build just a little bit more inner fire as you let the outer body soften. One of my teachers always used to start our class with legs up the wall. And it created such a stillness for the practice. All the students were able to really be drawn to the breath. And after a long day at work, this time of Viparita Karani felt like a mini vacation to us. We all felt it was rather challenging to move from this pose. It was so restorative. Let your heels slide down just slightly and place your feet together. You can press your feet in toward the midline here. As you take your hands just to the tops of the thighs, you might want to give the thighs just a gentle stretch toward the wall. We're not going too deep, but as you allow your feet to softly, smoothly draw down toward the pelvis with the support of the wall, you feel this nice opening in the pelvic area. Take your attention again to your breath. The hands are just gently coaxing right at the pant line crease or just above it, not at the knees. You're just coaxing the thighs to go a little bit closer to the wall and away from your heart. You breathe in deep and breathe out long. And you breathe in deep and out long. And again, you breathe in deep and out long. Now slowly fold your knees in toward each other and let your heels just slide back up the wall to this home base of our Viparita Karani pose. Once again, you can bend your knees just slightly to create a little bit more comfort. You allow the softness, the easy flow of your breath to create this rejuvenating feeling, this restorative practice. With your knees slightly bent, draw your right ankle just to the top of the knee, just outside the knee, and you can bend your left leg a little bit more. But again, we're not going too deep here. We're just allowing in this kind of figure four that you're doing with the legs, allowing the hips to open. And again, you can encourage the bent leg, the right leg, to draw a little bit closer to the wall. You can encourage the right foot to become a little bit more active, maybe spread the toes. And with the encouragement of your hands, just pressing the top of the thigh back toward the wall, you begin to feel the muscles release slightly. Breathe in deep and out long. If you feel like you can slide your left foot a little bit closer to have a little bit more of a sensation in your pose, go ahead to do that. And breathe in deep again. Breathe out long. One more time. Breathe in deep. And breathe out long. And in your own time, you can free your right foot and stretch both feet up against the wall in Viparita Karani again in our home base of the poses. And notice how the right side might feel a little different than the left. And as you're ready, you can let the heels slide slightly down toward the earth and allow your left heel to come to the outside of your right leg. Your choice, you can choose to reinforce the action of the left leg by drawing your hand to the top of the thigh and moving the top of the thigh toward the wall. As you stay in the pose, feel free to bend the right leg just a little bit more. Notice how this side feels compared to the opposite. You feel a little bit more fullness in the stretch. A little bit more openness in the pelvic area. If so, let the right foot just draw down the wall just a little bit more. Keep the left foot active. Breathe in deep. Breathe out long. Breathe in deep. And breathe out long. Breathe in deep. And breathe out long. Release now your left foot back to the wall and just slide your heels up the wall to come back to Viparita Karani. And notice the difference. Enjoy your breath. Enjoy the sensations of the pose, how you feel so rooted on the earth. How it might be for you a very cooling pose. On your next exhale breath, take your feet wide apart or fairly wide apart. You don't want to go so deep that you feel this tightness that you can't sustain. And again, a slight bend to the knees. The breath is flowing in and out long. You can begin to tone your legs a little bit more through the spread of your toes. So you draw in from the heels to the pelvis. You feel your kneecap engaged with kind of a lifting quality to it. Your breath has got this nice freedom as you breathe in and breathe out long. And again, breathe in deep and breathe out long. Slide your heels in toward each other. And once again, come to Viparita Karani. And just notice how you might still be feeling the stretch that we did to the inner thigh muscles. Breathe in deep and breathe out long. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in and out. We'll be doing a twist next, and for some of us, getting off the blanket might be useful. If that doesn't work for you, of course, stay on the blanket. But I think for all of us, it's best to move yourself a little bit further away from the wall and slide your feet down the wall. Have your inner knees touch. You can take your arms in this open pose, like wings or cactus pose. Draw your knees over to the right side. You can let your feet just kind of slide on the wall. And if it's too deep for you, grab your blanket, or you can grab your blocks or books, something that will support you in the twist. So your feet are still at the wall. Your knees are resting comfortably. You may wish to draw your gaze out over your left hand and take your right hand to the outer thigh. And if you feel like it's time to go into a slightly deeper twist, you'd want to do that on the exhale breath. So it could look like removing one of the blocks so that you go slightly deeper on the exhale. Just pause in this pose. Just find fullness in your breath to expand the left side even more fully. On your next inhale, move your feet back to Viparita Karani and just pause there. Just feel how it feels now that you stretch one side in the twist. If you'd like to park your knees in the twist on the left side, have your blocks or your blanket ready. Slide your feet down. Draw your knees over. Let them rest. And if it's comfortable for you, you can turn your gaze toward your right hand and place your left hand to the outer thigh. Bring your awareness to your breath. Breathe in deep and out long. Breathe in deep and out long. And deep and out long. Slowly move your feet back to the center position. Once there, slide your heels up. And again, check in. Maybe you're noticing a lightness in your legs. Maybe you're noticing the anxieties of your days have drifted along. This is something that you can do as your yoga practice anywhere you have a wall. And if you don't have a wall, you can just prop your pelvis up on the blanket, bolster, or blocks. And in the middle of the room, reach your feet high with a slight bend to the knees. To come out of the pose, bend your knees, roll over to one side as if moving into fetal pose. Use your top hand to press into the earth, to lift yourself up. As you come to seated pose, just notice how restored and rejuvenated you feel. Place your hands in front of your heart. To the many poses that the yoga practice offers us, to the many teachers that have worked so diligently to bring these poses to us, we bow. Namaste.